How's it going, everyone? We're here to check out what's new with Rust with the June update, and with this we do have only one new item, but a lot of quality of life changes, so we're going to go ahead and kind of jump through that. You're going to have to forgive me, there's going to be construction noises in the background. I can't do anything about it, it's just going to be there. So, with that, there's been a lot of changes. Barricades can now be placed in monuments, and yeah, that's something we will check out here in a little bit. In addition to that, you can now see the deploy of teammates. So when a teammate has their building plan out, you'll be able to see this same image and watch what they're doing with placement and see the ring around the base and everything, etc., which is actually a really nice thing. And in addition to that, you can also have visual feedback on building blocked. And what does that mean? Well, if we go ahead and cruise on over to here, you'll see there's a visual line that shows you where the building blocked on outpost is now. Hey, and that is for every monument. And if we go ahead and open up settings and you go under options, there should be two new options here: show building blocked and show building preview. And you have either when building, always, or disabled. And then you have just on or off for the other one. So if those are things you don't really like, you can go ahead and change them on up right there. With this, there are some changes to the actual monuments and their radiuses around them. Some have gotten larger, some have become slightly larger, and some have become smaller. So ones that have become larger are going to be the gas station, lighthouse, mining outpost, supermarket, and quarries. Quarries, I would say, have significantly seen a much bigger anti-build radius, probably to keep people from walling them in so much. Then dome and launch site have seen a slightly larger increase, and then abandoned military and Arctic research have seen a small decrease in the size of their no-bill radius. So yeah, that is kind of a very interesting little thing right there. And I think they're just really trying to get people to, you know, not camp and so forth, and really trying to help with that, because that is always a big issue that a lot of people complain about. And I think them tackling that is really, really nice. So, moving along with all of that, we also have quite a bit of quality life changes. A few things that are kind of just worth mentioning because it's not really something that needs to be shown. The helicopter now has a handbrake, so they won't drift down a slope. If you park on them, it's automatic. It's not something you have to do. It just keeps your helicopters from rolling away from you. Also, horses no longer, well, I shouldn't say no longer. They take a much less of a speed penalty. Alright, we got the horse backed up, so if we come over here and we examine the horse, you'll see that this one's max speed is 46.8, and we dropped to 38.7, so there's quite a bit less of a, you know, change there from the armor, and then another 6 there for the metal armor. So that's just kind of a nice little thing. It does actually prevent the horses from, you know, being as slow. And also, they now have the ability to very slowly walk backwards, which will definitely help a lot more when your horse gets stuck. Alright, so let's move on to some of the stuff we can actually show you. The first thing is the hammer. So as you were doing stuff, it would usually take away the tier that you can't do anything with, and this would sometimes mess people up when they meant to upgrade. It would quickly switch and it would just throw you off. Now everything stays in its place. Wood will always be here, stone will always be here, metal will always be here, armored here, demolished will always be here. Same with rotate. You don't have to worry about them jumping around and moving on you anymore, which is a blessing for builders for sure. So with that, there's a UI update to the painting, and you just have so much more tools, more detailed brushes. They've done improvements to how the painting works and transfers, and there's just so much more here for everyone that loves to paint. Then we've seen a change to the tech tree. If you have a tier 3 bench, it also has the tier 1 and 2 in it, and a tier 2 will also have a tier 1 in it. All you have to do is click on the little level 1, 2, and 3 at the top here, which is quite nice. And that means you don't have to cluster up your base with all 3 benches should you have people join later, or you just want access to everything. And I think that's really nice. You can actually use your old benches for trading more often and so forth, which is very cool. Then bones have seen a little bit of a buff. If you put bones into the composter, they will now very slowly, and after a lot of them, turn into fertilizer. So bones actually have a bit of a use now. While we're on the subject of planting, if you go ahead and put seeds in your hand and you hold down shift or sprint, whatever your sprint key may be, you'll notice that you can now plant all at once with that seed. That is very, very nice if you have yourself a pretty large farm. So that is something I think a lot of people like. The Salvage hammer also has been given a bit of more use. This thing has 100% damage to deployables. What's that mean? This is your new barrel whacker. Go out and collect and get scrap and whack them barrels. This thing has now been made to be the gatherer. So there you go. You can see the stats on that one right there. Then, with all of that, we've seen a little bit of a buff to code locks. If you use the previously entered code, etc. kind of thing, it should go just a little bit faster. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it is. So, hey, that's something there, which is nice. There's also been a debuff to the TC. You can no longer put in the last two components that for some reason were able to be put in there, probably because they're still technically marked as resources. But as you see, they will no longer go into a TC. You can no longer put in diesel, explosives, gunpowders, sulfur, or cooked sulfur. So anything that has to do explosives with the exception of charcoal can no longer go in. Or you can take a look at this and say, oh, well, all of this stuff can still go in. However you want to look at it, that's how it goes there. Then when it comes to crafting, windows have seen a little bit of a change. If we go ahead and take a look at the windows, you'll see crafting times have been brought down. Metal window bars are 15 seconds from 30. Reinforced windows 15 seconds from 30 as well. And strengthened glass is 15 from 30. So yeah, they have all seen their little drop and reduction down from costing 30 or making waste 30 seconds to half of that, which again, like I said, a lot of this is just quality of life stuff. Some more electrical stuff you'll notice is there's no longer a on and off on the electric furnace. This is because when servers would reboot, it would mess up people's electrical system. So now if it receives power, it's on. If it doesn't have power, it is off. This should make it work much, much better for people's setups and automatic smelting. Then the medium battery has been made to fit underneath a half wall. This is something that a lot of people will love and have been asking for a long time. So I think this will make quite a few people happy. Also, if you have yourself an igniter or a coil, they do break as they're used and wear down. Well, if you have the materials in your TC, they will automatically heal within the TC's radius now. Then, if we go ahead and take a look-see over here at the SAM site, it now has a invert mode, and what this will allow you to do is toggle automatically the defender status from target all to peacekeeper mode from your automatic system instead of having to manually walk up here and do what I just did. So that is another just nice little thing that you can get set up. Then turrets now have, if you see here, it says interface 0 of 12. Well, you are allowed to have 12 turrets, but we have one placed. Why isn't it showing up? Well, it doesn't have power. If we go ahead and power it up, you'll now see it says 1 of 12. And if we pull a turret down here, you'll see it says that this one will be 2 of 12 if we place it down. And you'll see that it now shows 1 of 12. Now that we've powered it up, 2 of 12. So now, there we go. So it sometimes takes a little bit to update. As you saw, it still said 0 there for a second, but it did go ahead and update once we wait a second there. So that's just a nice little thing to let you know while you're working on your turrets where you are kind of standing. And again, it's just a small thing, but a nice thing. When it comes to the conveyor, you now have a much better item search. You've got like double the space over here as you're searching through and all the options and so forth, and you just have a much, much larger space right here to fill in with all of your conveyor options, and it's just much nicer for people who want to get that sorting done. And with other UI things that have seen some changes, if we take a look at the shop here, you can now see what attachments weapons being sold have. As I put a hollow sight and a muzzle brake on these two, you'll see what's on them, and you'll also see how many spaces before you even hover over that, if they have an attachment or not. So again, some pretty nice little quality of life right there. Moving on, if we look in a repair bench, when you hover over a skin, it now tells you the name of the skin. Necro Machine, Assault Rifle Ice, Bombshell AR, Trust and Rust Time Travel. So now, if you're like, well, what is that skin? Put it in a bench, hover over it, boom, it's done. And it says right there, Trust and Rust Time Travel AR at the top as well. So let's say you put in a skin, you're not sure what it is. Well, hey, now you can see what it is and go pick it up in the shop. You know, you looted it off of somebody and you want to buy it, but there's kind of a lot of skins, especially for AKs. So yeah, that's definitely a little but nice feature. Then we've seen a quality of life upgrade to the mixing table. It now includes HV and incendiary ammo plans. So you can now queue up everything but explosive ammo in it here. It's still missing the shotgun shells. I do wish we could maybe do those in there. But hey, maybe that'll be added eventually if this seems to go well to whatever balance they seem to be keeping track of on it there. But again, a nice little buff is always something that is great. So we do have a new item for you, and it is the Seismic Sensor. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to provide it some power. It does require 1 power to run. And then you're going to go ahead and put it and attach it to something like probably a smart alarm. And basically what this thing does is it detects explosions, and it can detect them in different ways. And basically it differentiates between them by putting a different output for each type. Bean cans and frag grenades are going to give you a power output of 1. A power output of 2 is going to be hitting you with explosive ammo and satchel charges, and then rockets and C4 are going to put out 3. So you can do with that what you like. You could just simply have it send a signal if it senses anything, and there you go. Or you could fine tune it all the way down to knowing exactly where and exactly how far away. How far away? Well, by clicking on it, you can set the range from 1 to 30 meters. Keep in mind that a foundation is about 3 meters, so you're looking at about 10 foundations out is about what this sensor can detect in. Now, with wires, there's also a nice little effect. You can now add slack to your wires should you want to make it look kind of fancy and you have the extra space. If you hold shift and scroll wheel, it will sag. And if you scroll back up, the line will go taut once again. So we can go ahead and do a little something like that, a little something like that. You can just see it looks like, oh, you know, you hung some wires delicately across, you know, some tacks on the wall. And it just has a better look. It doesn't do anything for you other than being purely visual. So let's go ahead and see if this thing actually works, right? We'll go ahead and we're gonna just toss a frag grenade right on out there. And this thing should hit. Oh, boom, instantly, signal sent, alarm went off, whatever message you had would have sent to your smartphone, etc. So there it is in action. If we come on over here and check out what it cost, it's going to be 75 to research, it's going to be a workbench level 2. And if we look up here, it's going to cost you 3 high qual and 1 tech trash. If you want to see where it exactly sits on the tech tree, it's going to be right here after the storage monitor. So there you have that one, and that pretty much covers our one major new item here that we have. So with that, there are quite a few other little things, but let's go ahead and kind of check out the barricade placement around monuments. Alright, so we went ahead and floated over to the dome, and as you can see, this is that red no build zone, right? So we're in it, but you can place barricades. Now, you still can't place them on roads, so you can't set up like roadblocks, but you can place barricades anywhere inside of the no build zone. Now, they decay super fast, so that is, you know, the counter to it. But then the next things people are going to be like, well, okay, like, can we place it on the actual monument? You cannot. So people can't, you know, sit here and start blocking off the ways to jump up and so forth. I mean, you could try to do something really crazy, like, I guess something like this, you know what I mean? But it's going to be expensive, they're going to decay very quickly, and it's just really not worth it. And I'm sure we'll see much more balancing as it goes. but you know, you're not going to be able to be up in the actual monument placing down barricades in it. So that at least, you know, can be stopped. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you think this is going to really help you survive once you're fighting for loot? Or is this just going to be abused by people and make it harder for everybody to fight if they want the first one there? Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about that. Also, there's some big changes to how fishing works. They wanted to kind of make it have a little bit more something to it. And also a lot of people are kind of just using raw fish. So when it comes to not just only the pole, but the actual fish bait traps, they have reduced actual raw fish meat being almost worthless. It's like 0.5 now. And what they want you to do is use bait, basically. And what you'll do is you'll stack bait, like in the pole or in a fishing trap, and you're basically trying to work your way up. So you start with sardines. The sardines catch a, I don't know, let's say a trout or something, and then the trout catches a catfish, then the catfish catches a shark, blah blah blah, and that kind of thing. And you know, that's the way it goes up. And they've changed kind of how some of them work, and it's really kind of a big amount of details. And really, honestly, you guys should check out the blog to see the details on that one, because it's just going to be me reading off 3 paragraphs to you about fishing. And honestly, I think that's probably pretty boring for a video. So if fishing is something that interests you, you should really check out the blog and see all the different changes they've done to kind of give it more of a tiered feel to how you are fishing, whether it's with the pole or with the trap. Alright, but that pretty much does it, everybody. There are a few other little things that I feel are definitely worth mentioning, and that's going to be that you have the opportunity now to actually reconnect to a server if you disconnect or crash. And right now they're calling that the instant rejoin. It holds your spot for 5 minutes, and it will be any kind of disconnect: a kicked internet outage, a crash, Alt F4 because your game is froze. It will give you that grace period of 5 minutes to reconnect to that server. This is something people have been begging for a really long time, so I think that is probably the biggest of the last changes here that everyone is going to be pretty happy about. They've also made the chainsaw hit a little bit more accurate. Especially when you're trying to hit the red marks on the tree. That's not really necessary when you're using the actual chainsaw, but one way or another, I think, you know, people may be pretty happy about that. They've done a lot of LOD improvements on a lot of the monuments, which should help with everybody's performance, which is always a big one that everyone's asking about. And there has always been an issue when wiring next to vehicles. The vehicle itself's kind of like range or like space would get in the way of you being able to actually connect wires. That should no longer be an issue. Of course, if you do see any, go ahead and F7 report that and send it in so you can help the team track them down. But from what I've seen, it looks like they pretty much made it work really nicely. You can get around a car nicely with that wire tool now. But that's gonna do it, everyone. Thanks for checking out my video. We'll be up with some Twitch drops very soon on Friday to show you the next ones coming out for the Bellum event. And as always, stay rusty. Thanks for watching.